the original manuscripts. None of them actually agree. There's over 265 biblical translations.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And everyone has their own version. And they change and they alter and they say this and they take away this and they put it, and we know that. So as pastors, we have to soothe the ears and give them a good logical reason.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ketemu lagi di channel AdamaEntertainment, channelnya tentang video Islam dan juga kisah mu'alaf. Sebelum mulai, jangan lupa untuk like dan juga subscribe ya. Tanpa panjang lebar, ayo kita saksikan.
Ex-Pentecostal pastor of a large church. He was a Christian pastor for over 10 years. His story is one of the most touching revert stories, reaching over 2 million people, inspiring many to come into the folds of Islam. Is Robert Westmoreland. He came to Islam at a time when he was choosing his death date.
Assalamualaikum. How are you?
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi. Peace be with you. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well today. It's a beautiful day here.
So I introduced you as a former ex-pastor of 10 years. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Can we get into that? Tell us a little bit about what made you become a pastor.
My upbringing, I grew up in church, traditional Assemblies of God type of church, Word of Faith. And I always felt a divine pull. And so my rationalization was I was called to be a pastor, and I was really good at gathering people. So as a kid, I was always good at gathering little groups of people, and it led to adulthood. And so I started a church called Kingdom Culture Center in New York City, boasting about, we grew from 20 people to over 8 different locations all over the country, and was being mentored by top Christian leaders. And for some reason, I just felt this is not it. And I started questioning things regarding the Trinity and different religion, and it just wasn't making any sense to me. I couldn't understand a person who went to theology school, matriculated in the highest of Christianity, being a bishop, a so-called a prophet, an apostle, just couldn't have answers, and closed the church down. Folded.
All 8 locations?
All 8 locations. Folded.
Wow.
Folded. And I went on this journey of trying to find God and ended up going into voodoo.
Into what? Yeah.
Voodoo. Voodoo. Voodoo or voodoo comes out of Nigeria. Some of it comes out of Benin. And there's something called Orisha worship. So it's most people in America know it as Santeria. And it is a mixture of Catholicism and African voodoo. And so I started out in Santeria, and what you also call Palomeyombe, which is the worship of the dead. And initiated several people into the religion, several well-known people into the religion, and ended up getting sick. I could get people healed. I could do so many different things for other people. If you needed millions of dollars, I can get you millions of dollars. It came to me being sick. I also worked in healthcare, and I began to take on the symptoms of the patients I was treating. And that ended up being in ICU for 2 weeks. And prior to going into ICU, I kept going to my shrines, and I kept saying, I'm sick. What is going on here? We'll heal you if you do this. Sacrifice a chicken, sacrifice a goat, sacrifice a cow. I'm getting worse, and I'm getting worse, and I'm getting worse. And so I ended up on ICU, and really strange. I remember watching two TikTokers, Maliki Click and Amina Roche. And Amina Roche talked about something called tahajjud. I called it tajahun. I didn't know how to pronounce it. So tahajjud. And my doctors were literally giving me, because of the sepsis in my body and the infection, I had literally days to live. And so I said, I'm going to try this tahajjud thing and let's see if Allah works. And I done tried Oludumare, I done tried all the Orishas, I done tried all this other stuff. I tried Jesus, I done tried everybody. Nothing's working right now. Let me try tahajjud. So I tried tahajjud. First night, nothing changed. Second night, nothing changed. Third night is where something really began to change. I would go down to the hospital chapel and they would let me go down and I would pray. The morning of the third night, the doctor came in and he said, we've been testing your blood hour upon hour and we notice your white blood cells are normal. You're normal. I was like, okay, this is tahajjud. Okay, I'm going to take note. This is tahajjud. So I guess the tahajjud works. I was released from the hospital the same morning. And as I was driving home, I began to have thoughts. I don't think Allah did this. I don't think God did this. And so I don't think this really happened. And I'm out of the hospital and I'm going home to end it. And so something said, get your phone, go to TikTok. Maliki Click was on TikTok. And I've never in any TikTok history have ever requested to go on someone's live. I said, can you give me Shahada? And he gave me Shahada. That was on June 26, 2023.
What was it with you now at that time when you're a pastor, a Christian pastor? What did you know about Islam? What was your impression of Islam at that time?
My influence of Islam actually came more of from the Nation of Islam. I do have an uncle who is a Muslim, but he does not deal with the family. He's very extreme. He's part of an extreme group. We'll put it like that. And so my judgment of Islam was judgmental. They're judgmental. They live on their own. They can't get along with the Jews, and that's how we're taught. So, from the Christian perspective, that's how we're taught. They don't get along with the Jews. That's the teaching that we learn in evangelicalism of Muslims and Islam. So for me, it was just like, I don't know if I would. I'm going to try Allah, but I'm not going to try this Muslim stuff because my thought is like, nah, not for me.
And then you discussed earlier, so you talk about this Trinity. Were there other people amongst your congregation and others? Because this is something, obviously, it just boggles the mind, the Trinity. Was this something, can you elaborate a little bit more on this,
Sure.
The struggle with this?
As a senior pastor, I never really preached about the Trinity. I just always preached about God. We saw Jesus as pretty much as a way shower. As much as I went to school, we really couldn't break down. I always had an issue with the Trinity because I read that God is one in the Bible, and then all of a sudden God changes his mind and becomes three persons. It just was a conflict for me. And who is the Holy Spirit? How did he show up? Like, who are you? The Bible is very clear from the evangelical standpoint. This is God right here in the Old Testament. And then there's a break. And then God all of a sudden becomes three in one. It just wasn't clicking for me. And I remember talking to my leadership staff, talking to my leaders and saying, this doesn't make sense. Well, you got to think about it this way. You're a spirit, you're a soul, you have a body, you're a triune being. Okay, that still doesn't explain God to me. And for many people, even my leaders had questions. So they said, just think about it this way. Don't try. These are the mysteries. This is the mysteries of Christ. Just accept it for what it is. We'll never understand it. But just accept it. But the word Trinity is not in the Bible. Well, we made that up. We put that together to describe who God is. I said, well, we giving God extracurricular names now. And so it got me in a lot of hot water.
What about the concept of Jesus, who we love? Did you know at that time that Muslims, I mean, did you have any idea that Muslims love and believe in Jesus as the mighty messenger?
I remember it took me back. It's funny because there were just little instances where I was actually having interactions with Muslims. And I had an Uber driver. He said, you know, we believe in Jesus. I said, yeah, okay. Yeah, he said, we believe in Jesus. Why don't you come to the masjid? We'll teach you more. But I had a moment. I was at what do you call it? A food stand. And I just felt this presence from this Muslim brother. And he was cooking my food. And he says, Habibi, I want you to know that Allah loves you. I was like, I'm a Christian. He said, okay, Allah loves you. I just want to let you know that. I don't know why I felt to tell you that. I was like, okay. But I knew from the cab driver that Muslims believe in Jesus. I just didn't know the extent. He said, we believe he's in another time. He's an eternal time. We don't believe that he went on the cross. And I was like, oh, miss me with that. We believe in the cross. I don't care what you got to say about that. He went on the cross. He died for my sins. That's what we believe. And that kind of turned me off. But at the same time, it stood in the back of my head.
Wow. Yeah. Crucifixion.
Yes.
Tell us about that now. How did you deal with?
Oh, yeah. I had a problem with it in the beginning. I had a problem with a lot of things in the beginning. But the Bible actually says something. Cursed is the man who hangs from a tree.
Good point. Yes.
And if, in fact, there were some things that just didn't make any sense in the story, being theologically trained, we knew some things that went on that we knew scriptures were added to the Bible. And so from my theological standpoint, I had to reason with some things and speak to some of my classmates. I said, listen, bro, I'm a Muslim now. I'm becoming a Muslim. We don't believe this, and that. When was Matthew, Luke, John written? Well, bro, they were written probably like 60 years after Jesus. So how authentic are they? We really don't know how authentic they are. We don't even know if Matthew, Luke, John wrote it. And so me using that rationale made me think about it. Okay, well, do I really believe in the cross? Because cursed is a man who hangs on a tree. And the Bible says it, and it said it in reference to Jesus. And so for me, it was kind of easy to let it go. But the hard part for me was, well, who takes away my sins now? That was the only hard part for me. It was like, okay, who redeems me? How am I redeemed? And so learning some fiqh and Aqidah, I got my answers out of that. So that was the good part of, one thing about Maliki Click, he was like, look, you're going to Safina Society, take some classes, get you some Aqidah, get you some fiqh, learn what this is before you even do anything else. And so that was a good part, was getting in depth into that and learning those truths to help me, because when I started doing dawah, and it wasn't on purpose, people had questions and I had answers. And so getting away from the Trinity, getting away from the cross was hard. But once I started taking classes and getting into it, I understood. I was like, yeah, this is a big hoax. This is a lie. This is really a myth. And then the Bible lets you know that verses have been added to it.
So you guys knew that. You knew this at that time as a pastor of 10 years. You guys knew that it was been manipulated. The text has been manipulated. And Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they're actually anonymous books. This is according to Christian Resources and Scholarship.
Why do you think we have so many translations?
So many versions.
None of them all agree. None of them agree with the original manuscripts. None of them actually agree. There's over 265 biblical translations. Why? and everyone has their own version. And they
Mhm.
change and they alter and they say this and they take away this and they put it, and we know that. So as pastors, we have to soothe the ears and give them a good logical reason.
Mhm.
So manipulation
Wow.
at its finest.
So, thank you so much. Very,
you.
very interesting story. Inshallah, this inspire so many more pastors, so many more human beings to look deeply into Islam. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can I add this as well?
Absolutely.
We have, since I've taken Shahada, I have led over 12 other pastors into Islam. So we're going to see more testimonies coming.
Hold on.
Nah, sepertilah kisahnya, bagaimana kan kisahnya ini sangat menginspirasi kita bahwa kita itu sebagai umat muslim, dengan adanya video ini kita itu menjadi terinspirasi bahwa kita itu bisa lebih baik lagi. Dan dengan video ini juga mungkin kalian juga yang mungkin non muslim ya, yang menyaksikan ini, kalian juga mungkin ada gambaran seperti apa bahwa agama Kristen itu tidak selalu misalnya benar ya, karena banyak juga kontradiksi di sini. Bahwa agama Kristen, agama non-Islam misalnya gitu ya, jika orang-orang mereka itu mualaf itu karena apa? Kebanyakan itu mereka itu tahu bahwa Islam itu adalah agama yang benar, agama yang lebih masuk akal daripada agama-agama lainnya. Dari mana kita itu bisa tahu hal itu ya, karena kita mempelajari Al-Quran dan mempelajari agama Islam gitu. Kita itu harus berpikir terbuka. Indonesia itu emang toleransi ya, tapi ketika kita dihadapkan dengan sesuatu agama gitu ya, kita harus mengkaji, misalnya agama Kristen seperti ini, agama Hindu seperti ini, agama Islam juga seperti ini, dan berbeda-beda ya, karena di Indonesia itu banyak banyak sekali agama ya, tapi kebanyakan di channel ini adalah tentang agama dari non muslim ke muslim, dikarenakan agama Islam adalah agama yang paling sempurna di dunia ini. Sampai akhir zaman pun Al-Quran itu berkata bahwa Allah itu akan menjaga Al-Quran sampai hari akhir. Nah, seperti itulah bagaimana kisahnya ya. Dan jika kalian suka, jangan lupa untuk like, comment, dan subscribe ya. Dan nantikan video saya selanjutnya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.